Yay.
And I think we're live.
Yay.
Hi, no viewers. My name is Shauna Sudik, and I am here today with Aly Wilkins, and I'll explain how we met in just a second. But this video, the purpose of this video is to give suggestions to live a life without limitations. So Aly is now, I consider, a friend of mine. And she's a personal growth coach who helps women in their 20s who have done everything right according to society, and yet they still feel like something is missing. She helps her clients find more alignment by providing them the tools they need to step into their true purpose. So this is Aly Wilkins, and
Hi.
we met in soul school, which we decided we wanted to explain it because it's really, really hard to explain. And Alexi Panos is our group mentor. It's about 200 individuals. And we decided to explain it as an online global community because there's people from everywhere. It's really awesome connecting with people from all over the globe. So it's this online global community for heart-centered individuals that seek to step into their highest potential. Does that sound good to you?
Yeah. That's exactly what that sounds like. Totally.
It's awesome. And we got a chance to see each other in person. Have you been in since the beginning?
Yeah, so I joined last year right when it started on day one.
Yeah, it was last August, I believe, and we got a chance to meet each other this past June at the first annual Soul School meetup and actually touch each other. Aly and I were actually in accountability groups together because there was so many. They sort of split us off into groups of 10. So we really got to deep dive in each other's personal stories, and it was almost like we were meeting for the first time. So that was just awesome. And today we wanted to talk about how to make yourself lucky in life. And we did switch the title from How to Get Lucky because that sounded like we were going to give you tips on pickup lines or something. So we decided to switch it on How to Get Lucky in Life. And we wanted to start by having Aly tell a story about when she really realized that she could make the decision to be lucky. So why don't you go ahead and start?
Yeah, thanks for that awesome introduction, Shauna. So when we spoke about this initially, one story really came to my head about really when everything changed for me, and it was all about a perspective shift into making my life seem more lucky, but also it's just your thoughts. So here's my story. So I used to live in Orlando, and I would always drive to work in this one stoplight I would get stuck at every single day, and it was like an 8-minute long stoplight, like the longest stoplight in history.
Oh, man.
And and every day I would just have this well, first of all, so I wasn't in the best place in my life. I was very unhappy, and I was very just, letting every little thing get me down. And so every day I would sit at the stoplight and just get annoyed and let it ruin the rest of my day. So stupid. But I feel like a lot of people do this with other small things in their life. And so one day I looked at the stoplight and I was like, wow, I've never seen that there's a row of amazingly gorgeous palm trees behind this stoplight. And I just thought to myself, and not just because of the title of this, but I literally thought wow, I'm so lucky to live in a place that has palm trees, because most people associate palm trees with vacation, right?
Yeah,
And
being in Ohio, when you see a palm tree, you know the vacation is starting.
yeah, exactly. Anyone who doesn't live in Florida or California or maybe Arizona, you love palm trees. It equals vacation. So I realized wow, you've been ignoring this the whole time. You've just been looking for the stoplight. You've been looking for those negative things, for the bad thing, or the thing that you want to avoid, that you don't like. But I was completely missing all the beauty that was a foot behind it, because I was so focused on the red light. So that just, in that moment, I really I really surprised myself. I was like, wow, you've been doing this all wrong. But so that was really when my perspective changed, and that's when I was able to start viewing myself as being more lucky, because the things that were happening to me were looking like it was just luck. But kind of what we're here to say today is that luck is all really all just a perspective. So that was my moment where my perspective totally shifted.
That is awesome. And I think that it's a little extra awesome because the palm trees were like right there, just right behind the light, just right in front of that thing that you're giving all your attention to. It's just look just a little bit after that, beyond that, and you'll see like this gorgeous life, you know?
Yeah, totally. And that's how like everything works, you know. If you're looking for the negative things, that's what you'll find, and you'll find plenty of it. But you might be missing that like gorgeous thing that's sitting right behind it, you know?
Yes. And I don't know this this isn't any sort of fact, but it's just in my perception that like being in a country with so much, it's like so easy to just look at these things that aren't working out because we have all of these different stimulations and we're not just in a village trying to get our meal in. So we just step into this victim a lot, so much easier.
Yeah.
I sort of have the same type of story, and we were talking yesterday about how, or I'm sorry, 2 days ago, how thoughts create things. And this was a huge realization for me because in the point of being lucky, and then I guess the wanting to be lucky and like the wanting to things just work out. There's always people that just seems to like stand in the way of luck and they just get hit on the face with it no matter where they're going. They seem lucky. And then there's people, or some people feel that seem like they're always getting like knocked down. And this shift on the thoughts create things was huge for me. And one personal story of mine is I guess let me start first with ways that I started to shift. And it's sort of the same ways that you did. And it was finding ways that I'm already lucky. And as cliche as it sounds, and you hear it all the time, but some people don't have a refrigerator. Some people don't have running water. This was the second week that I was supposed to be in Tanzania, Africa to help Epic with build the water wells. And it just really sat with me after finding out that these girls get raped when they have to walk 20 minutes to go get water in Africa, which I can't imagine how hot and sweaty that must be, and then carry the water back for 20 minutes. And I can just take 4 steps into the kitchen and turn on my faucet and have clean water. So really just finding the ways that I felt so abundant right here, that shit made me feel lucky. And the second one was, as I was learning the ways to see that I was lucky, I found out that it was really important to really like feel it. Because you can think, if you're in a bad mood, you can try to think the thought like, yeah, that water's cool. Or, yeah, I have food and people don't have food. Or I love my cat. Or anything that makes you happy, you can think it. But it's especially important just to really like feel into it and be in tune with your body and just feel like the thankfulness that you have towards whatever you're looking at in life. And when I started to get out of my head, because I would be in my head a lot thinking about how like things go wrong or things could go wrong or things always go wrong for me, because that's just me. I'm just Shauna. I just go through hard times. And so I'd get in my head and I would get in these little pity parties, which is a word you used, and not speak to people. And when I started speaking to people, and I'm like, you know what? Screw this. Sure, I think I'm having a bad time, but I'm gonna try to be thankful for this time and try to have the best time I can have right now. And so every time, almost every time, I don't want to speak in absolutes, but most of the time when I just got out of my own way and started talking to people, strangers at doctor's appointments. And there's one appointment that I'm at every 8 weeks, and the appointment takes like 2.5 hours. Just start talking to people. I made so many connections of so many sweet people that you would have never thought. And the main one was this woman, Jerry, who I decided just to talk to her at a doctor's appointment. We were talking about gluten-free eating. And she tells me this whole story about how she's an author of this gluten-free book. Her husband had celiac, and she's been going around speaking about the topic for years. She's older, 75-ish. And the book that she pointed at, she's like, there, the book's right over there. 2 semesters prior, my public speaking teacher gave me that book to read. So that was like a really interesting coincidence. And then we just kept talking and talking. And now she's like a business partner with us. We're using her huge clean-ass commercial kitchen to make our bone broth. And we have this really good team going. And if I would have never spoke up and gotten out of my own victim head, feel bad for myself, I would have never found her. And that's like she's a huge part of my life now.
Yeah, I love that. Because you were willing to get out of that victim mode and see things like, well, maybe there's an opportunity for me to have a little more fun here instead of feeling sorry for myself.
Yes, so much. I want to say hi to Adam and Brittany. There are lone wolves here.
Hi, thank you guys for joining.
Yeah, 2 for 1. Do you see the comments, Aly?
I do. I see them popping up one-on-one on the laptop.
Okay.
One by one.
I just have 2, but I'll take it. So next, we wanted to bring in some science because people really connect with science, and some people need proof of things. They don't just want to believe this like hocus pocus, law of attraction, bull crap. They need proof. So there's 3 things that I want to mention that's like are very, very interesting when it comes to this. When it comes to the properties of getting yourself lucky, and when it comes to the fundamentals of the science behind it. And the first one I want to cover is mirror neurons. Have you heard of these, Aly?
I haven't. Science is not my strong suit, so I can't remember all the fancy words, to be totally honest. I know all this is very true. So continue. Tell me what mirror neurons are.
I just read. I don't. I did college, but it's all research based, so I'm not a scientist. But the mirror neurons is really very, very cool. And so if you see somebody kick a ball, your brain will fire in the same way to prepare yourself for movement and attention. The actual same parts of your brain will fire off as you're actually kicking the ball. Mm-hmm. So actions are mirrored with what we're seeing. And that is cool enough, and that could be going as extremes here. So that could be like, sure, kicking a ball, but how about the movies we watch and like the dirty shit that happens in the movies we watch? Our brain is firing as if we're going through it or doing it. You ever like go to the movies or watch a movie and you feel like you are Spider-Man? Like you're whipping through the buildings and it feels so good. It's fun and it's enticing, So the first thing about mirror neurons is they mirror action. And the second awesome thing about them is the emotions are also mirrored. So they did these tests, and there's been multiple tests, but they would flash a picture of a fearful face on the screen. And the person watching would have a fear response in their brain. I believe it's the amygdala. It's almond shaped. It would light up the same as they were having this fear response. So that's interesting enough with this just a face of emotion. There's not even a person there to give an emotional energy of fear. It's only a face portraying fear. And our brains will respond to that. Not only do we respond to that, but I'm assuming you guys have heard of subliminal advertising, where they're like, flip a Big Mac in so quick to the picture that you can't see it, but then you want a Big Mac. I'm pretty sure this is illegal now, but they used to do it. Excuse my hair here. And when they have viewers watching the screen and they're watching other things, and then they quick slip this fear face in there, unbeknownst to the viewer, they still have a fear response. So even like subliminally, we get these responses in our brain that are mirroring the things that we're looking at. And the third one is so neat, and it does still have to do with the emotions. And people who have lost their eyesight due to brain injury. This was in Scientific American. And the actual, what I'm actually quoting, most of this is from a Huffington Post. Now, the people that lost their eyesight due to brain injury, they can't see, but they're shown a picture of a fear response, have a fear response in their brain.
What?
It's unbelievable. And thinking about it, I was talking about it yesterday, and thinking about it, I guess it sort of makes sense because your eyes are still there. There's just something is off to where your brain's not conceiving the image, but the image is still, like the light is still going into your eyes. I don't know. That was insane when I read about that. So let me see if there's anything else.
Yeah, that's crazy. So even being able to see those actions are still happening. That person just isn't able to see it in their mind.
Right. Unbelievable. And the last thing that I want to bring up is, so I watch you kick a ball, my brain kicks a ball. I watch you dancing, my brain is dancing. So let's not forget that what we do then is going to affect what other people's brains, how their brains are reacting. So this, I think, is where we really get to take like responsibility in the mirror neurons, not only to decide what we want our brain to think that it's doing, because, I don't want my brain to think I'm doing certain things, because then the brain reacts and the body actually physically reacts in a way with hormones and other things that get set off if your brain thinks you're doing something that you're not, but you're watching it. Mm-hmm. And then if we want to have an impact on other people, we get to look at the impact we're having on other people and decide if that's the impact we want to have on other people. I want to say hello to Amy Louise Cash.
And to Mary. Mary pop on.
Hi, Amy. What up, Mary? Oh, nice. Brittany's giving us lots of love.
And to Mary.
Ooh, what was that?
Sorry, I just opened up my Facebook thing on my phone. Even though I turned the volume down before, I was just trying to look at some of these comments.
Yeah, I had it on my phone, but you can keep it up for me. I can sort of see them on the bottom of this TV. This is our first time doing this, and we're on like Be Live, so it's totally new. So we're just kind of getting used to it.
And hoping that it'll work.
Yeah. It was counting down right before we got on. It counted down from like an hour when I made it, and it was so stressful when it got to 10 seconds. So taking this opportunity to talk about the responsibility that we have, realizing that we can choose whether or not we feel lucky, what do you have to add to that?
Well, I think that our responsibility first has to start with ourselves, because if you don't have awareness of yourself and how your own thoughts are going and what you're thinking on a consistent basis, it's going to be very difficult for you to be present enough and aware enough to see how you're being with other people. So I think the the best place to start if this is something that you really are just getting into and just understanding like thoughts become things, and what we think about is what we'll see in our life. So for me, the most important piece of this is awareness, as with really anything with personal growth. And I love talking about awareness because it's so like key to everything. So kind of the first piece to even do any of this is awareness. So where do you start? So first, I mean, obviously just be aware. So just ask yourself, what am I thinking on a daily basis? You know, what am I thinking the majority of the time? And then as those thoughts come in, just say like, oh yeah, I see that thought, I see that. And just be aware of what you are actually thinking, because science has shown us that I believe it's 80% of our thoughts we repeat on a daily basis over and over again. So if we're thinking those same thoughts every single day, hey Elizabeth, thanks for popping on.
Hey.
If we're thinking those same thoughts every single day, and most of them are the same, like 80% of those thoughts are the same, what do you think is going to show up? It's going to be those thoughts that are the same every day. So getting a hold on those and changing them to something more positive that will serve you more. So first, just thinking about, just noticing them as they come in. And something that I love to do is visualizing a huge keyboard. And when a thought comes in, for example, if it's like, oh, I look so fat in these jeans or whatever it is, you just imagine this huge keyboard and you're like, delete. I don't need that thought in my brain anymore. Oh, great, a bee just came in. But like, I don't need that thought anymore. I'm just going to delete it because it's not really necessary. It's not serving me in any way. I think I may have gone a little bit ahead, but so basically just starting to notice what your thoughts actually are and what's recurring for you on a regular basis. Because when you look at that, you'll realize like, oh, I have some work to do here. And really everyone does. It takes a while to to really improve your thoughts. So that's the first step, is just being aware.
So I'm going to put that up there. And
yeah.
I totally agree. And it is a practice. And I think that's what people could understand better, is how much of a practice it is to be aware of the thoughts that you're thinking. And when I first started this practice, I would be like doing something that I do all the time, like in the kitchen cooking, and I would realize that I have been in robot mode cooking and doing these things and not being any aware at all of what I'm doing. Just my body's just going through the motions because I've done it, and I've cooked and been in the kitchen since I was able to walk. You know, most of us have done these things for so long, so we just get in this like robot doing the motions mode, and we're not aware. And so I think that is a great first step.
Yeah. Something I realized where my thoughts always acted up was really when I was doing the dishes. That was one place, since you just mentioned the kitchen, it made me think about this. And my recurring thoughts would be like, oh, I hate doing the dishes. Like, this is such a waste of my time. This is so annoying. I don't want to do this. Could I pay someone to do this for me? Like, nothing positive there. And actually, this one was a recent one that I noticed, because I had kind of gone through some of the more obvious ones, and then this one was laying there for me to improve. So then I just thought, there's so many people, I live in LA, and even in LA, there are so many people who make good money, and they do not have a sink. They have like a bachelor kitchen that doesn't have a sink in it. They can't wash their dishes. Like, they don't, like, people who are just like me, just live in a bachelor apartment, don't have the opportunity to wash dishes. They have to like just eat out most of the time. Or on the other hand, on a more severe extreme, like, you know, people who live in a village in Africa and they cook all their food in one pot, they would love to have this big luxurious sink with one side for drying and one side, you know, like, they would be like, this is the best. I'm so thankful for this. And I have the audacity to be sitting there like, I hate doing dishes. So that was a lesson for me even like a month ago. I got that intuitive hit to to upgrade that level of thinking. But yeah.
I do have something to add, but knowing the steps we're going to talk about, I'm going to hang on to it.
Okay.
So why don't you go on with your process? I'm going to put the other stuff up here.
Hi, Laura. Just saw you pop on. Thanks for joining.
Hey, Laura Bug.
So the first step is getting aware. The second step, and this is just what's worked for me. So the second step is to ask yourself. So first you've noticed a thought come in. Then ask yourself, is this thought serving me or hurting me? And then after that, if it'll probably be pretty obvious if it's serving you or if it's just like causing you pain in some way. And then ask yourself, would you say this to your best friend? Particularly around, that's more so around like body image thoughts for me, at least. Like, would I say this to my mom? Would I say this to my best friend? Would I say this to, I don't have kids, but would I say this to my own daughter? You know, that's a really good way to see if this is a thought that's serving you or not. If you wouldn't say it to someone else, you probably shouldn't say it to yourself anymore. So that's the second step. Third step is,
I'd like to chime in a little on that.
Yeah, go ahead.
That's actually to come back to the dishes.
Yeah.
When deciding that those thoughts, if I'm bitching and complaining when I'm doing the dishes because we don't have a dishwasher, like, boo-hoo, you know, get over it. I then will look and I'll decide, like, okay, this is not serving me. So why don't I take this and hold my abs in really tight and use it as an exercise, you know, which I think leads into your next steps. But that's something that now when I do the dishes, I really work on my posture, and I won't. Some people like lean over to one hip, you know, when they're just standing there for a long time, and that is so unhealthy. So I take it as my time to like stand firm and to hold my muscles in and like move my body as a whole. So that's just how I take it.
So there's like two purposes for doing the dishes, not just one. That's awesome. Okay, so then going into step 3. So I think this is really one of the most important pieces, because for me at the beginning, it was very difficult to notice these thoughts coming in, notice that they were not serving me, but then I would have a lot of judgment about myself about it, you know, and you really just have to drop the judgment because, for one, I mean, this is kind of a different topic, but we're all a collective mind, so all of us a lot of times are thinking the same things. And they may differ a little bit, but a lot of times we're all thinking the same types of stuff, so we can just drop the judgment because everyone's going through it. Everyone's dealing with it. It's not just me. It's like, I'm not that special, but it's just me. It's everyone is going through it. So really dropping the judgment and not allowing it to make yourself feel bad in any way, because this is just a learning process. You know, in school, no one is like, here's how you create the most positive thoughts you possibly can that will serve you.
Nobody.
But you don't learn about how to do that ever. So give yourself a break. You're learning how to do this for the first time, probably. So that's a really important step. And then after that, learning how to release it. So this is like where I mentioned the big delete key on my visual computer. So so the delete key is one way. I remember my dad used to teach me this when I was going to sleep, but I think it worked really well for thoughts. And I do this when I'm meditating sometimes. Or actually, I have 2 different examples for you. So one, what my dad would teach me, he would say, okay, imagine a chalkboard, and every time a thought comes in, you erase it because you're trying to keep that chalkboard clear. So it's like, if it's like, you know, I hate doing the dishes, just visualize erasing it. And then it's clear and there's nothing there. And after you do that like a zillion times, it'll be gone, and that thought won't come in again, and it'll be something different. The other thing I like to do, particularly when I'm meditating and thoughts come in, I'm like, what am I going to eat for dinner? I imagine clouds passing. I imagine myself like laying in grass or something and looking up at the sky. And I imagine the thought being like typed up and going into a cloud. And then you just watch the cloud like slowly drift by you, and then it's out of your like peripheral vision, you know. So then it's just gone and it's fine. So those are 3 different ways you can release it that are not difficult, because sometimes if you're like, okay, I'm gonna release this, it'll hang around longer. So I love those visualizations to help with that. So we've gotten aware. We've thought about if this thought is serving us. We've thought about, we've dropped the judgment about ourselves around this, and then we've released the thought. So then we want to replace it with something that serves us more. So, for example, with the dishes, you know, I actually have it posted above on my cabinet that just says, you are so blessed to have a sink and have running water that it's so easy for you to do dishes whenever you want. And that's what I focus on now. And if that thought comes in, like, I don't like doing the dishes, then I'm like, okay, well, yes, but I'm very lucky to be able to do them. So I'm very grateful that I have this big sink. And then I just go into all the reasons that I'm grateful for being able to do the dishes. So that's the process that's worked for me. And then you just repeat that like a million times every single day for every thought that comes in.
I'd like to write that. Wait, what is that? Number 6
is that it's not going to be overnight at all. If this is something that's like new for you, this takes a lot of practice. Like, imagine how many thoughts you've thought in your entire life and you haven't used this process. Don't expect yourself, 1, to fix all your thoughts overnight, or 2, to get the process immediately. But just realize this is really going to be a practice that you work on every single day, and that you get to work on every day. So yeah, those are just my steps. Do you have anything that's different from that, Shauna, that you've done that works for you?
Well, I'd like to add that I love that. I love all of those. And actually, to everybody else, when Aly and I, we were trying to come up with like a rough draft of what we wanted to cover in the live. And the quickest, it was like a quick thing, like, okay, well, we'll have some steps on how to make yourself lucky. And so I was unaware that she was also making steps. And I did mine, and they're almost the same thing, which is pretty cool. I guess I'm not surprised, because it is a process that has been taught down generation to generation, and everybody sort of just picks it and makes it their own. The first one, so Aly's first one was get aware, and my first one was just notice. Just notice your body, notice your thoughts, and notice your emotions. And this was huge for me, because noticing my emotions. So it goes emotions, and then thoughts, and then body. So I believe it's emotions, thoughts, and body. Maybe thoughts, emotions, and body, but I don't think so. And when we notice our thoughts and emotions, we can decide what is effective for us or not, and we can decide what we like. And noticing the body, the lowest layer of that, when we think about an emotion, and we think about like excitement or anger or frustration or just like irritation of having to do more dishes, that gives our body a feeling. And a lot of people aren't really tapped into that feeling that it gives their body. I'm sure that Aly knows what I'm talking about, and I'm sure that there are a lot of people out here who get feelings when they get certain emotions, and sometimes it's in certain parts of the body. Just understanding that that's actually like, that's not just you, that's not just how you react when you're feeling excited, that's how the body will react when it's feeling excited or frustrated or irritated. So noticing the body or just to notice, is step 1. And the second step that I wrote is decide what feels good. And this is, I want to say really quickly that when I'm deciding what feels good. I'm thinking about the person that I want to be. I'm thinking about those lucky people that like have the body, or they have the house, or they have the resources to travel, or they have the health. I'm thinking about that, and I'm then deciding what feels good like that. So this isn't something that has to do with instant gratification, like, oh, well, it feels good to drink this Coke, or it feels good to take these pills, or it feels good not to work out. That that can easily get in the way if you're not truly in touch and aware with the body. And when I decide what feels good, I know I decide those emotions. How can I explain this? So I get used to how those emotions feel in my body. I get used to how they feel. So there I can come back to them really quick. And that goes into step number 3, is to take action towards what feels good. So if I know that drinking a pop or sitting on the couch when it's a day that I have scheduled to work out, I know that sure, like sitting on the couch feels like it feels good. It feels comfy. It's winter time. It's cold, at least in Ohio. But really noticing my body, is that what feels good? Or am I going to feel like I gave up on myself an hour later and that I screwed up, and that I'm going to now I feel bad about what my day looks like. And listening to the body, then I can take action and know that, okay, working out is going to feel good. This is going to feel good, and this is going to feel aligned towards those things that I want, and therefore is going to make those things more approachable to me, which can make me feel more lucky because they're going to come around. And your phone. And number 4 is like, don't get tricked by fear. So this goes back to, and I want to keep this really surface level, but you can take this on as deep or as high as you want to go. I'm going to take this back to the couch and exercising. And getting tricked by fear is something that everybody goes through. Like, it happens to everybody, no matter who you are. I don't care. Fear is here. And it's something to embrace, because we can easily get tricked by fear if we're on the couch and we decide that laying there feels better. Because in our minds, if we get up and start this process, if we work out, say we're on like a 30-day challenge and it's day 3, and we sometimes decide not to do it. And it's in my reality that is actually fear creeping up, to be like, okay, if you keep doing this, you're probably just going to fail anyways. So why not just like fail now and just get it over with? Or maybe you could do it tomorrow. It's a fear of failure, or a fear of success, however you want to look at it. And I had another point here. So noticing, again, those things that don't feel good, and not getting tricked by the fear of failing, and pushing towards the fear. This will make you feel lucky. This will make you lucky. This will get you outside of that little zone that you're in, the little couch potato zone that you're in, where you just don't want to move or do anything because it's scary. So fear is good. Go into it. And then the 5th step, and I think this is like the most crucial step in all of it, is be open to being lucky. Be open to having a conversation, or be open to somebody who comes up to you. We so often will prejudge. We'll prejudge the day, and most of the time it's based on something that happened in the past, and we just think that that's going to keep happening because that's how our day goes. And when we're prejudging, if somebody tries to talk to us, we just kind of don't want to talk. And being open and letting those things, those judgments, those prejudgments, those limiting beliefs of what you can't do kind of sit in the back. Just let them take a passenger seat, and let the driver be this: I am open to whatever wants to come my way. I am open to whoever wants to talk to me. I am an open book, and I am gonna just step into my truth. You will feel, and you will get so lucky, I promise. And the steps, taking all of these steps, and you can take all of Aly's steps or use all of mine or mesh them together. And I think when it all comes down to it, being open is the key, because you have to be open to be aware. People, if somebody's closed off, they're going to be like, well, I don't need to be aware of my thoughts. I already know everything that I'm thinking. I know it all. And going down Aly's list, being aware, asking if the thought is serving you is asking you to be open. Dropping the judgment is so asking you to be open, because that can be really tough sometimes. Learning to release the thought. As adults, some people don't like to learn new things. Like, they think that they have it, and they think that they know how life works. And so learning a new process up here is super open-minded. And learning to release the thought, and then learning to replace it. And then after doing all of those things, doing it again and again and again and again and again a million times a day takes an open mind too, because you're not going to be lucky right off the bat. You may not feel lucky right off the bat. And even if you feel lucky the first time you do it, you might not feel lucky every time. So you have to be open to the fact that this is a process. Do you agree?
Yeah, totally. And I'd like to say that too. When we're being open about replacing the thought with something that serves us more, it's not about, going from like the lowest, when you're just feeling like so awful, and then faking this feeling of like everything is great. Like, that's not what it is. It's just choosing a thought that's on a higher vibration, even if it's by like, I don't know where you guys can see my hands, but even if it's like a teensy bit more of, if it's a teensy bit serving you a little more, that was not grammatically correct, but that's winning. It's just anything that's going to take you to a slightly higher vibration, basically. Because if you're trying to say like, I'm going to go from this, just I feel super shitty, and I'm going to try to go to this like high vibe and place, it's not going to feel authentic to you, and you're going to feel like you're faking it, which some of the time it is like fake it till you make it. But I just want to reiterate, like, just try to go to a thought that's slightly more positive if you don't feel like you can make that huge jump. Because otherwise it might just be like, that's not real. I'm not doing this. This is stupid. Like,
so it'll feel so forced if you're just like down in the dumps, and you slap on the smile that so many people do. You have it totally down. And it was really interesting when I found out. I want to go get a little resource for us that I think is going to be really good. It's right here, so I'm just going to grab it.
Hi, Mary. Thank you for joining, especially so late at night in Ireland.
Where is Mary?
She said it's 1:15 here in Ireland.
Oh, Mary. Mary's always on super late. Are you a night owl? Oh, she's got to go. We love you, Mary. So there was a book that we actually read in Soul School. It was one of the books of the month, and it was called Ask and It Is Given.
Love that
and
book.
it was awesome. It was awesome. Here it is. So they have a list of emotions. Let me make sure I'm centered here. They have a list of emotions, and this was like super eye-opening, because just like Aly said, you just want to raise it just notch by notch by notch, and like know that that's okay. And this isn't a chase the happy game. It's not a chase the high type of game, which I think a lot of people think that it is. So the lowest vibration, or the lowest emotion, that we can feel is going to be fear. And they also described it as grief, depression, despair, or powerlessness. And like, wow, have I felt so powerless in lots of times in my life, often. And that's like the lowest. And then we say, okay, I want to get out of this fear feeling. I want to get out of this powerlessness or this grief. So I'm just going to hop out of it. I'm going to hop out of it and I'm going to be in a good mood. Well, that's not the case. The next step up is insecurity. So that maybe doesn't sound like good news. And then it actually goes in sequence, lowest to highest of jealousy, hatred. So hatred is higher than jealousy. Revenge is higher than hatred. This is where anger pops in, is a higher emotion. It's a happier emotion than revenge. And then discouragement, up to blame, up to worry, up to doubt, up to disappointment, and then all the way up to joy or love. And so sometimes if you're feeling like jealous or fear, which is something that a lot of us feel, if you could get out of fear and get into anger, you're actually like stepping up a little bit, which is, I think, super important to understand. And then once you're feeling the anger and you really feel into it, then maybe you can step up into doubt. And that's okay too. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you brought that up. I forget what they call it, ladder or something. I don't remember.
I just shut it or I'd look.
But yeah, that's so helpful because it is, you think that you're supposed to go from like pure hatred to pure joy, and that's like not going to happen. You have to inch your way up, and eventually you'll get to that place. But not in 1 second. So, yeah.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for hopping on.
Yeah, thank you for the comments, too.
Yeah, thanks so much. And you're welcome, Brittany. Brittany, you're like on it, too. So you were part of the reason I wanted to get on this. You're like doing the challenges and stuff. So I think that's about it. What time is it? 8:17. That's a good 45 minutes.
Yeah. And Madison, thank you for joining. I didn't see your comments. So we didn't say hi to you yet.
Who is that?
Madison.
Oh, Madison. Oh, I did. I saw it way earlier, but I was listening to Aly, so I didn't want to interrupt. If you're still watching, hey girl, you're Madison is up to good things too.
Yeah, for sure.
She said we need a meetup event in January. Huh? It's a question mark there. Oh, maybe she's saying we need to have a meetup in January. So we could probably get out of here. Anything else you want to add to Lucky?
I think the only thing I would like to say is just that being lucky is completely a perspective. I know some people who think they are super lucky all the time and luck always comes their way. And I know other people who think that the world is against them. And other people are lucky, but they're not. And that's what shows up for them. So really whatever you believe in is what you're going to see, because your ego is going to want to find proof anywhere that will support your belief. So might as well believe that luck comes to you all the time.
I love that. It's the age-old law of correspondence, which in other words says like what you focus on expands.
Yeah.
So as above, so below. So if you're thinking it here, you're going to see it out here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the gist of it. So thank you so much, Aly. This is so fun. I'm so glad. And I'll be seeing it on the flip side, I'm sure.
Yeah. Thank you so much for including us.
Oh, not a problem. If you don't follow Aly and you're watching the replay, you should follow her. She's awesome. And she's totally chill. So we love all of you guys, and you guys have a good night.
Bye.